So what did I say the last time I dropped a video? That more producers were going to be exposed for lying about their beats when they actually generated them with AI and they didn't actually compose or produce them themselves. And there's another producer who is on these other producers' asses, and he's exposed, I don't know how many producers. He's at like part 8 in his exposing fake producers series, and he exposes like 5 producers per series. So that's a surprising number. I didn't realize this many. I knew a lot of producers used AI, but I didn't know so many of them were lying about not actually making any of their music. Now, it's been a crazy week. I've been banned from talking about AI this week on the podcast, and that sucks because some crazy shit went down. So, for example, here's one of the updates. You know how AI fans are always saying, okay, well, Suno and generative AI platforms like that don't actually memorize your music. All they're doing is pattern recognition. Well, Germany just smacked Suno in the face, and Suno lost their lawsuit. Gemma, who's like the PRO in Germany, successfully sued Suno and apparently proved that Suno actually stores and memorizes musical data. I could have told you that. That's the reason why so many producer tags get output out of Suno without prompting. That's not what I'm here to talk about, but we'll definitely get to that in the future. I want to talk about this. This is a comment that I get all the time about AI music. Let's be real here. The end user doesn't give a fuck. I'm getting tired of the crying by this community. And you've definitely seen me sob in my videos quite a bit. Here's another similar wait, is this the same person? No, totally different person. Another AI bro. Listeners don't care. In 3 years, AI songs will be everywhere and no one will be talking about. Now, one damning piece of information that the AI bros do get right is that the average person, actually 97%, the vast majority of listeners cannot tell the difference between fully AI generated and human made music, which is crazy because I don't know, man. I think it's pretty easy to tell the difference. But hey, how many native English speakers know the difference between lay and lie? And so this is a big deal, right? So clearly these commenters are right. No one gives a fuck because no one can tell the difference. Well, they don't actually like this study because they only talk about this one statistic. Also, the vast majority of those same people agree that 100% AI generated music should be clearly labeled. 73% of music streaming users would like to know if a music streaming service is recommending AI generated music. Over half feel that AI-generated songs should not be included in the charts, and only 11%, that's a tiny minority, believe that 100% AI-generated music should be treated equally on charts. But it gets worse. 65% say it shouldn't be allowed to use copyrighted material to train AI models. 70% of people believe that 100% AI-generated music threatens the livelihood of current and future musicians. 73% think it's unethical for AI artists to use copyrighted materials to generate new music without clear approval from the original artist. And 69% believe that AI-generated music should receive lower payouts. This is a sad day. I just learned that random commenters on YouTube aren't always correct. Now, there's more shit going down in the AI world. The first AI hit, that's what people are calling it, the first hit song generated by AI, Rubbers by Phoenix Flexing, was just exposed by Medicine, who's a great producer, to be 100% AI generated. That's based on his evidence. I initially defended Phoenix and said if this was AI assisted and he just changed his voice, I don't see a problem with it. But the assertion by Medicine, and watch the video, the assertion is that it's 100% generated by Suno, which is, I guess, a Suno-like AI music generation platform. And he's claiming that even the lyrics are generated also by Suno. So the beat, the lyrics, everything generated by AI. And some news outlets are reporting that Phoenix Flexing has canceled show dates because, partially at least, the AI backlash. If that's true, I don't know if it's true. I don't know how do they say that? Correlation equals causation in this instance. If so, though, hey, people, I guess, do give a fuck about whether or not music is generated by AI. And I think ultimately what people don't like is being lied to. And I've said this again and again, and that's why we're going to start seeing a lot of these fake ass producers getting exposed. They can go up, they can dance in front of their webcams and act like they just created this track that was obviously 100% Suno generated. But we're going to see a lot of backlash. We're going to see a lot of exposure. So if you like seeing goofy ass producers getting exposed, let's get into more of that. Okay, let's talk about the new sticker. Have you heard about that? Yeah, the RI. Well, it's a label now because back then, you remember when you're my age. You remember when the parental advisory sticker first came into fashion, and I believe that was part of I don't know, some kind of campaign or some kind of push from the public, but also obviously from the RIAA. And now there's one for AI generated music. Back then it was a physical sticker or a physical label that was printed on, albums. But now what we have is, let me share my screen. I have a couple bits of information. It's interesting. So this is from the RIAA. It says, music community introduces new labeling program to distinguish generative AI in sound recordings. And it has support from obviously the RIAA and then also SAG-AFTRA and a bunch of other organizations. But these are two suggested labels for AI generated and AI assisted music, respectively. And what they're saying is fans want to know whether and how generative AI has been used in the music to which they listen, which is true. I mean, that is true. They can prove that. You haven't heard anything about these systems, these labels?
No, but I would be curious to know, like, what percentage of fans care?
I'll
Like,
tell
is
you.
it? Oh, they did a poll.
They've done multiple polls. I know the big universal one was consistent with these findings, but the most recent study was from Deezer and Ipsos. They found that 80% of adults want 100% AI generated tracks explicitly tagged for listeners, and that's a sample size of 9,000 across 8 countries of music consumers.
Nice. I mean, that's encouraging. I would also want to know, like, what is the threshold for AI assisted? Like, any AI usage in the creation of the
That's
music?
a good question.
Is there a minimum threshold, or if you use any at all, like, should you put it on there? And who's policing it? Like, who know? Like, how would you know?
I mean, I guess the RIAA, in the same way that back in the day, you had to submit your lyrics and then they would determine if the sticker was placed on your music, there would have to be some kind of process for you to submit, I don't know, your stems,
Yeah.
some kind of information, fill out some kind of questionnaire. They're going to have to streamline it. And when they streamline it, obviously that means stuff falls by the wayside. But yeah, I think a couple of takeaways for me were, number one, there are some surveys too, many surveys that show, and this is what the detractors will cite as reasons to be pro AI. They'll say, well, the average consumer actually can't tell the difference between AI generated AI assistant, AI generated AI assisted and human made music. And I'm like, yeah, but that's precisely the problem, right? Because people can be tricked, but they don't like being tricked. It's the same with food. People can be tricked by food all the time. They don't know the difference between corn syrup and aspartame and sugar, right? But they shouldn't be tricked into consuming one and getting the other. And that's, really what people want. So, anyone who's opposed to consumers having information about what they spend their money on, what they put in their brains, what they put in their ears, what they put in their bodies, quite frankly, is a piece of shit, is my opinion. And all surveys show that in spite of, or precisely because people are having trouble distinguishing between AI generated content and human made content, that the vast majority of consumers, especially music consumers, we're specifically talking about music consumers, do want labeling so they can make those decisions.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of already went on a true crime tangent or rabbit hole. I can do the same thing for food and the way we're being poisoned. So I don't want to talk
Oh yeah.
about food. Um, but yeah, I think this. I mean, overall, this is a good thing. I just have, I would just have quite a few questions on how this gets rolled out, and because even with so that's just RIAA, and if you want your music to count for, because if you're completely independent and you don't care about the RIAA, then that music is just
Well,
rogue, right?
maybe because the thing about it is that, as we know, these organizations affect the industry, even if the RIAA represents the labels, right? When when the labels make decisions, a lot of us, especially with DSPs and stuff, get forced into playing by those rules. So with the way things are now, I know back in the day you didn't have to play, and you still don't have to place a parental advisory sticker if you're unsigned or whatever. You can do whatever you want. But with this, because everything is so centralized now with the streaming platforms and the DSPs, all it's going to take is the RIAA to put pressure on them, and suddenly there's a system in place. Probably, given the data, though, you would think, right? If I run a distributor or a streaming platform and I'm looking and saying, oh, 80% of the people, roughly 80, even if it's 60, even if it's 70, the majority of my customers want this thing. They want a labeling system. You're probably going to implement it. And you may as well just implement the one that's already in place by the RIAA or whoever. So could it catch on? Yeah, I think another concern is just kind of the hypocrisy, because Spotify has the AI remixing feature. Um, Warner Music Group, who is represented by the RIAA, has a partnership with Suno. UMG has a partnership with Udio. UMG kind of killed Udio, though. They were supposed to relaunch. They haven't. It's been like a year. So they might just be dead in the water. But regardless, it's like when the labels say initially, we're fighting AI because we care about human artists. And you're like, nah, you want to control the situation and make the most money. Is this another one of those moves?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, and again gets implemented, if it does get implemented. But a win, I think, a net positive.
Yeah, and the video I wanted to show about this, and I want to ask you this, Dame, because you brought up that a lot of unsigned artists will probably try to avoid labeling their music. And there is, obviously, we could have seen this coming, apparently an epidemic of, and we've covered stuff like this, artists pretending to be humans, but all their music is completely AI generated. And as a result of that, we have content like this.
Here's an AI rip of Goodfellas Morning Coffee. Come on. Oh, yeah, this next one is actually the worst one I've heard yet. And it's funny because in their bio, they're pretending to be like a real musician and a real producer. It's just,
I mean, that one sounded terrible. That sounded like came straight out of AI's ass. But you see, there's a lot of that where people completely misrepresent themselves. They'll write a whole bio for their
For sure.
group, and and then it turns out no, it's just someone pushing a Suno button after typing in pre-dawn fog or whatever the fuck. So there's definitely a backlash, and as you saw, that was part 7, exposing AI artists in the EDM space specifically. I feel like
My
this is
thing,
just going to continue.
yeah, but is it a loud minority, or is it really like pushback, like enough pushback to continue to influence change? I don't know. but it is. I mean, it's only growing exponentially, right? The
Yeah.
usage of AI and the creation of AI artists. I mean, I think I told the story 6 or 7 weeks back of, when I was trying to put together room and board, and I was doing research, came across an artist that I initially thought was dope, and then you listen more, and you're like, oh, okay, this is AI, and then you look at the profiles, like, oh, they've dropped 80 songs this year in the past 2 months, like, okay, and
You know
then you
what I
go
think
to
is funny though? When it's an AI artist and they've dropped like 2 songs in a year. Like what, the whole point is that you don't have to do shit. Why are you being lazy when all you have to do, you could just chat GPT
that
this
that
entire thing.
maybe that's trick because they're trying to mimic the output of some of these other artists that aren't dropping frequently. They're trying to get past that detection. Like, oh, maybe it make it seem like this is a human artist.
I disagree. I don't think they're that smart. I think what it is that they're just really that bad at music. They're really that bad because I do interact with some of these folks, and the line is always the same. Yes, I used AI, but, and I know a lot of them are lying too because they say, well, but I played all the instruments. No, you didn't. That guitar, you didn't play that guitar solo. Absolutely not. All of that is AI. Okay, well, I played it first and then I ran it into AI. Sir, you could just go wow 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 into the mic, and a guitar solo would come out if you put it into AI. I don't trust any of that. I think people are absolutely using this as a way to lie and obfuscate. And it's sad because you see people who have created AI personas for themselves. Like there was this woman that was cussing me out on Threads, and her entire profile was her as like an obviously much younger blonde woman, and like her entire profile was her AI avatar going on vacation and like dating dudes and eventually getting married to an AI dude. And I was like, you got to check yourself in somewhere. I, there are class action lawsuits about the effects of social media on teens and how it fucks up their brains and causes all types of depression and SI and all types of stuff. And clearly humans aren't meant to consume or interact in that sort of way. And now here's AI. So I mean, people are already, it's not even been out for that long, and there are cases where folks with mental illness already have been convinced by AI to kill a family member or whatever. It's bad.
Yeah.
It is bad.
I'm AI'd out at this point. I think for at least for the next 2 episodes, we should go without even saying the word AI. Because it's everything. It's running rampant. It's yeah. Even in the social media world, when you look in the comments, there's AI generated what I think are AI generated comments to just like stoke division and get people arguing, and like because somebody will say something super inflammatory, and then I click on it and it's like a page that has like no followers. There's definitely a plan or a strat just to stoke division and create chaos in the land of social media where there's already a shitload of chaos. Um, so like, can we do that, Payne? Next 2 episodes, man. No, we can't say AI one time where you got to put $5 in the AI jar.
All right, I'll get my $5 ready because if I'm going to talk about that weird scam on Facebook, I kind of have to bring. Well, you know what? I don't have to bring it up. Let me save my money.
We're gonna have a $5 AI jar